Alright, we cannot get going with anything until we understand the demographics, the ad interface, and as you guys can see, this is the new. If you're used to Facebook ads or haven't run them in a while, this changed probably last week at some point. So what I want to do is talk about all this stuff as it relates to local. So, to get going, let's just use a city, Orlando, Florida. Now, first thing is, you can go 10 to 50 miles around Orlando. So we can do it as 10 miles around. We got 1.1 million people. You can't do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatnot. Or you can do just current city only. We got 770,000 people. Now, do you think, looking at this, there's 770,000 people who live in Orlando that I can target on Facebook? Yes or no? See, most people, when they're running ads, they're not really worried about location too much because they're running it generic for. They try to go for the big niches and they don't use location modifiers. They're going after e-commerce stuff. But watch this number right here. Alright, we have everyone in this location, people who live in this location, and people traveling in this location. The people traveling in this location is people whose most recent location is within the selected area, but whose home is more than 100 miles away. So, if we were going to do roofers and we just targeted this straight up, we'd be targeting 770,000 people. If we did just people who lived in this location, we just knocked off 210,000 people who are visiting here. Now, why does this matter? Let's do this. We get into all this later on, but let's just do home ownership, first-time home buyers, and homeowners. And let's say we just left it as everyone in this location. So let's say we just wanted to run a huge ad all across to everybody that owns a home. If we did just Orlando, and most people never change this, like I said, if you left this alone, you'd be targeting 330,000 people. Now if we did people who live in this location, we just knocked off 110,000 people off our targeting. Now why? If you guys keep it like this, everyone in this location, what happens is, if they are in this location, let's say they live in Portland, Oregon, but they're still tagged as a homeowner, it'll still show up here because they're homeowners, they are inside of Florida, because Orlando, Florida, and you got everyone in this location tagged. So I want this very clear about people who live in this location and everyone in this location. Now, what else can we do with that? We didn't look at this last one. People traveling in this location. So guys, you're going to run ads for local restaurants in Orlando. Who do you want to run the ads for? Do you want to run the ads to the people who live there all the time and already know about them? Or do you want to run ads to people who are just traveling to that location? Now guys, when I saw this right here and figured this stuff out up here, this changed the way I can market. Let's change this up. Let's do Denver, Colorado. Guess how many people are traveling in Denver right now? 170,000. Guys, when this got clicked for me and my company right here, we turned this into so much money because we know how to target just the people traveling to that location. Again, most people run Facebook ads. They're not doing it as a location type thing. They're doing it as a big business thing. They're going after e-commerce. So this right here is critical that you know. Now let's move it on down. I suggest you take the time to go through here and look at all this stuff. So if you want to do relationship status, you can go here and click through all of this stuff and see all this different stuff you can do. Engage is a big one we're going to talk about. So take the time to go through here. But what I want to talk about is this section right here, this section right here, and this section right here. So let's do Orlando Magic. It's a basketball team. We got 6,800 people in Orlando. Oh shit, we're still in Denver. So let's just change this back to Orlando so we have some action. Okay. So Orlando, Florida, there's 28,000 people who live in this location. There we go. People who live in Orlando, Florida, 69,000 people that like Orlando Magic. Now let's add Major League Baseball to it. See how that number went up. Now, I don't know a way to run an ad to these two groups that makes sense because it's going to run it to people who either like Major League Baseball or like Orlando Magic. So let's get rid of this. And then let's add a different one here. So before this was on here, this was 100 some odd thousand. Now with this one, we got credit card high spenders. So now we got 2,800 people. So what happens here is if you put something here, here, and here, they become and ads. So this has to be true, this has to be true, and this has to be true. Now if you just put 4 or 5 things in just the interest, it's an or. So it could be Major League Baseball or the Arizona Diamondbacks or Mickey Mouse or Disney World. So you'll have a bigger number. The more stuff you add to this, the bigger your number goes up. So let's add Miami Heat. It went from 2,800 to 5,200. So the more I add here, it increases it because it's an or this, and this. I hope this is making sense because this is very critical to know. That's what these lines are here, and that's how I separate them. Been doing this long enough where you don't need to. Once you get this down pat, you'll realize it. So let's say we're running ads for somebody in Orlando, and I'll show you how this works. So let's just say we want relation. We want married people and we want credit card high spenders. So if we get rid of this, we can reach 120,000 people in Orlando who live there who are married. Now for whatever reason, let's say we want them to have a lot of credit cards available. I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing something with credit card high spenders. So now we got married people and credit card high spenders, 6,700 people. Now this is how you can go out there and get those demographics that you can't go get on Google AdWords. A lot of companies just need their message in front of people, and that's why they pay for billboards and newspaper ads, and they do all this stuff just to get in front of people. But they're just getting in front of whoever that thing shows up to or whoever drives by it. Here we can get a lot more detailed. So this is just a jumping off point. I want to make sure this right here is very clear. People traveling in this location, people who live in this location, and everyone in this location. I've never used people recently in this location. Yeah. Who knows how long ago recent is? So let's see how long ago recent. Whose most recent location? Okay. So who knows how long that was? So do you guys see how this is this and this and this? Or if you just put a bunch of interest in here, it's or. We had 34,000 people, let's say multimedia. Now we got 35,000 people. And now we have 37,000 people who live in Orlando and like multimedia or typography or advertising or graphic design. So guys, this is the foundation of everything we're going to do, so I had to make this very clear on these. The difference between and or. Okay guys? We needed a jumping off point, and that is it. This right here, when you're doing local, is everything. Again, Orlando, Florida. If I'm going after for roofers, people, everyone in location versus people who live in this location. That's 210,000 people. If I did this with homeowners, $220,000 people versus 330,000 people. I cut a third of these people off just by changing this. Alright guys, on to the next video.